It's go, 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 go time.
All right. Welcome to the Next Leveling Mortgage Podcast. My name is Todd Martin, your host for Mission 35 Mortgages. Today we have Simona from Mayfair Law. She is a paralegal. She is fantastic. She's literally one of my favorite people in this industry right now. I met her, I think, about 4 months me being in this industry, and she has been a blessing to me. She's been one of my favorite contacts. She's answered every phone call I've made, every text I've sent to her, every email I've sent her. Doesn't matter the time of day, doesn't matter the day. And Simona, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to really enjoy having this conversation with you.
Thanks, Todd. I just want to point out, you said I was one of your most favorite people in the industry. You didn't say in general, but that's okay.
Period. Without a doubt, you were one of my most favorite people in general. And I'll tell you something funny. What really caught my eye when I met you at the conference last, I think was March. No, March, might have been March.
Yeah, March or April.
Yeah, and what really caught my eye, and this is funny, is it was the name of your company, Mayfair Law. I love the name because it was from one of my books when I was a kid. I was reading the Anne Rice novels, right? Mayfair Law is one of the main contributors in that book, and I was like, I have to go introduce myself, right? And I'm so happy I did. And one of the things when we talked, and it clicked with me almost the second we talked was and I'm pretty sure we talked for about 15 minutes in the middle of everybody else there. You talked about your love of still having the conversation, right? Being in person and talking with people in person. And we had our first conversation after that as I drove out to Toronto to meet you because that conversation clicked with me. And I'm like, I'm the same. I want to be with people in this time of technology and communication and video chats and phone calls and texts and Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff. The lost art of being able to sit in front of somebody and introduce somebody is so lost. So I took the time to come out and meet you, and I'm so happy I did. We sat in your office and just talked for an hour, and I don't even think we talked much business.
Nope.
Right? And I just want your opinion on just the difference in that compared to we're talking during Zoom on a Teams chat right now, but that's different because we know each other and we've been doing this for a while. But just what you can learn and the difference in sitting in front of somebody, beside somebody, and just having a conversation as opposed to a Zoom chat.
Well, you actually brought up a really good point because what you did was you went ahead and you made the effort. You went ahead and you made the effort to leave and drive over to Toronto and meet me in person. And that's what makes you so different than so many other people, because the effort that you put into cultivating these relationships, maintaining these relationships, it's a really big deal. And that's the difference. Whereas we meet in person, we get to know each other, you see the body language, you feel the tone. It's completely different. It's just like when you're meeting your plus one or when you're meeting with a client. You have to gravitate towards them. You have to do something that grabs them. Why would they want to work with you than with anyone else? Why do they want to hang out with you than anyone else? How do we stand out? And that's how we stand out. Just like that, where we sit there and we don't even talk about business. I don't want to talk about business. Let's talk about each other. Let's get to know each other. Let's maintain that relationship. That's how we stand out, and that's what makes us totally different. So that's why that in person is completely a game changer.
It really is. When I sit down and talk with a client and I have that first value call with a client and we talk about when we get to business and we talk about application stuff, so many people just send a link and say, can you fill this form out?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even give it an option, right? Let's talk. If you want to talk over the phone, fine, we'll talk over the phone and do it that way. If you want to do a Teams chat, we'll do a Teams chat. I will sit down and have coffee with you. I will come to wherever you are, sit down and have coffee with you, and we'll fill it out. But let's fill it out together, because through that conversation, I get to know what your thoughts are, where your actual dreams are, what you want to do with this house, what you want to do with it, where your thoughts are, where your goals are, right? Not just, I want to buy a house, right? That makes such a difference to me. I don't believe in here's a form, fill it out, right? Because you don't learn anything from somebody in that way. And relationships aren't cultivated and thought of. And right, I learned so much from people just having a conversation, right? And part of that is, my father's old school. He's a contractor,
Yeah.
and he refused the cell phone for 10 years. He said, I will not let somebody get hold of me 24/7, but I will go to them when I need to and they need me to, right? Because he knew when it was important, when it wasn't,
Yeah,
right? And even now, retired, he has a cell phone, but everybody calls my mom.
makes
And she
sense.
screens for him,
Yeah.
right? And he knows when it's important, right? And this is a day and age where people don't get that, right? Everybody's reachable 24/7, and I find it, just that ability to talk to somebody more than just texting words back and forth to each other, right? So, and that is where the value I had meeting you was so huge, right? Because you were the first person I met in this industry that had that same conversation, that same value in that relation with me. That's why I made the point of saying I have to go back and meet Simona. I have to find time to go out to Toronto and meet her and make sure she knows that I found that conversation valuable.
And that's the other difference. So when I'm speaking to anybody else, any potential clients, it's not just, oh, I have a mortgage broker. I actually have a mortgage broker and a friend who
Yeah.
so it's a personal contact. It's not just somebody who, I'll funnel work to. It's somebody who I'm actually a friend with him. And I've actually, connected with him on that personal level where we've been to events together and I
Yeah.
know things about him. So it also gives that trust from them to me to you,
Yep.
right?
And that, yeah, it is not, what I tell people, I said, it's not just about, I have a contact I'm going to send you. It's not just somebody that I work with. It's somebody I know and somebody I know that's going to treat you right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great, that's why.
So, I mean, it's just, and that's, it was such a, I don't know, relief to find somebody because, I got in this business and I'm like, yeah, everybody's great about, finding the clients and finding the business and all that kind of stuff. But I was always about the relationships, and that was great to find with you. So, um, now I guess we should talk a little bit about what you do and how you do it. And we've talked a little bit about what makes you different from other people and that, and how you guys build your relationships and stuff. And, but specifics and stuff like that, like, I've talked about, I love first time homebuyers. They're my favorite people in the world to work with because they are living in the hope and dream world, right? And terrified, right? They're terrified of what's coming, but they still have that, oh boy, I got my first homecoming world. And I know where my pitfalls come from with first time homebuyers and stuff like that, and where I tried to advise them and get them to take a breath. You still got to look at this sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Where does where do you advise? Where do you guys sit in that? What kind of advice when the first time home buyer? Because I know when I bought my first house, I didn't have a clue,
Mhm.
right? I was a contractor.
Mhm.
I built houses. I didn't buy houses,
Mhm.
right? And my lawyer was fantastic. He walked me through the little stuff,
Mhm.
right? Because my mortgage agent didn't,
Mhm.
right? He kept coming back to me saying, "We need this. You need this. You need this. You need this. You
Right.
need this," right? Little bits throughout the whole thing. And by the time it was all said and done, I was like, "What happened to my money?" But my lawyer was great, right?
That's that's great. That's great. You need somebody to maybe not handhold, but you want someone that directs you because it's the biggest purchase of your life. So when it comes to Mayfair, we started off in personal injury. That's where all of our experience came from. And when it comes to personal injury, there's a lot of one-on-one with our clients. There is, constant check-ins daily. They don't know what's going on. They've lost their jobs, they're injured, that they're in a bad place.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to guide them. Now that relationship can last a year, 2 years. It's really different than a real estate transaction. But because we did that scope for so long, we almost perfected the way that we handle a file. So everyone had a place in the file so that something was always done, nothing was ever missed, and the client was always updated. And when you're thinking about that and you're thinking about a real estate transaction and a first time home buyer, you have that first contact, the introduction. Who are we? What do we do? And who are the people that do the different steps in your file? And what does that look like? And so we kind of map out to them, this is what it's going to look like over the next, I don't know, 2 months, let's say. Your closing is on this date. Let's work backwards. Are you going to be around that week? Are you on vacation? What kind of bank system do you have? Do you have a Tangerine account? Are you with TD? Does it take, we kind of have to start backwards and say, okay, when the last couple of days happen, what does that look like? So we can plan. Okay, now let's introduce you to everyone. Here's your team. Here's all their contact numbers. Here's my number. You want to send me a text? You want to give me a call? You want to send me a WhatsApp message? I'm around 24/7, whatever you need. If you have questions, we want to make sure they understand that we are always available. If you forgot, you have a question, okay, call me Sunday. I can answer that question for you. They need to feel like we are part of their family so that they can just give us a call, answer a quick question, and move on. We want this to be an amazing experience for you, not one that gives you stress.
Yeah. That's one thing I found, like, I just finished the deal with you guys. Your answer communication and answerability was fantastic, right? There was issue on my end from the bank side and sorted out almost immediately. It was the next day. So kind of a two-sided question for you then on that side, the communication and over the last few years, this is even since my very first mortgage was done 4 years ago, right? So much has changed in this industry since then. The banks have been regulated, overkilled regulation wise in the last 3 or 4 years since the COVID boom and bust, right? And then all the trouble that happened with Scotiabank, they went through what they went through. And now, I mean, what I went through dealing with mine, I was like, holy crap, what is going on? I didn't get asked for all this kind of stuff. I was even dealing with a reset. I'm like, what is all this? I didn't go through this 4 years ago, right? So how have you dealt with people that you've dealt with previously and have gone through mortgages and stuff before and are dealing with people, because I've even dealt with this a couple of times on my side, and they're going through a second, third, or fourth at this point, and they're going, why do you need this all now? Like, are you communicating this beforehand? Are you saying, look, this is going to be a little bit more intrusive than you're used to, right? How do you prepare somebody for that?
So obviously we already anticipate this because we have so many transactions that we deal with. So we already know, we're dealing with this lender, we're dealing with this bank. We already know that there's going to be a long list of requests every day. So we let them know, don't worry. We get these every day. We communicate with them very well, but we will need this information. So we know what we need. So we will ask them, send me all of this. Yeah. Even if we don't need it, it's privileged. We're lawyers. It's privileged, meaning that we're not going to disclose it. It stays safe with us, but if we need to disclose it, we'll disclose it. Just send us everything and we'll deal with it from there on. If we need something more, we'll let you know we need something more. We already know that they're going to be asking us for a laundry list of things. So we'll preface it at our first meeting.
Cool. Yeah, and that's so important. One of the first things I tell people now is, I'm going to ask you for all of this. I may not need all of this, but it's going into a secure portal. It stays in that secure portal. When we're done, it's gone. Yep. If you email it to me, it goes from the email into the secure portal. It gets deleted. Mm-hmm. If I happen to keep a file, the file is on a secure hard drive. Only I have access to it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's two-step verified. It's secured. It's not going anywhere. Right? And but the amount of paperwork, the amount of stuff I just try to get ahead of it all now. And I tell people, one of the first things I tell people right away is, this is going to be invasive. I apologize. It is not going to be fun, right? I don't want this information. I don't want all this stuff from you. I don't want to see this. I don't want to go through your bank statements. Am I going to have to? Maybe. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right? And they really appreciate that upfrontness, right? Because I find people really don't like when you're 3 months into the process and like, what do you mean you need more? What do you mean you need more? What do you mean you need more? Right? So if you're upfront and you tell them, look, this is not going to be fun. You're going to need, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. There might be more. I'm sorry. The banks are regulated just as much as we are now. I can't anticipate I can anticipate most of it. They may ask for more. I'm sorry. My favorite thing right now is when the job letter only lasts 30 days now.
So I was just going to say that on my end, it's a little different because we'll get things once we're close to already being
Yeah.
closed, right? Whereas you're in the process from the beginning. So your client may not know that if they switch jobs or they purchase a car or they lease a vehicle, everything changes. They don't know that, right?
I
And
tell people once we get started, once I get you pre-approved, you're done. Don't buy a car. Don't don't unless I'm specifically telling you you need to raise your credit. No new credit cards, no new lines of credit.
yeah,
Um, no new job hunting unless you're in the same range and you know you're going to be done your 3-month probation before this is all said and done.
right.
None of that. You stay put. You don't buy it. No big purchases. You're not going on 90-day cruises. You're not doing none of that.
Mhm.
Right? And they're like, what? I'm like, because it affects everything.
But Todd, that's why it's all about education, and that's
Yep. That's our job.
right? It's our job to educate them and say, this is why, this is what may happen. And our objective is to close your deal.
That's right. And even yesterday, like I just got home from my vacation. I was home at midnight on Saturday and I was out running around and one of my favorite real estate agents had an open house yesterday and it was literally on my drive home. I'm like, I'll stop in and say hi. Right. And ended up there for 2 hours. And so many questions asked by people. And I tell people all the time, ask me questions. And the people that asked me the most questions said, I don't know whether I should ask my mortgage agent these questions. I said, if you're afraid that your mortgage agent is going to have an issue with you asking questions, you're with the wrong agent.
Yep.
Said, I would rather you ask me a question you think is a dumb question because I will answer it in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Without a word. Said, and if I don't know the answer, that's perfect because I want to know the answer. And I know the people that know the answer. I want to know more. So the more questions you ask me, the better off I am.
I was wrong.
It's all good. Ask me 1,000,001 questions, right? If you have 1,000,000 questions, ask me 1,000,001. That's what I tell them all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's one of my favorite things. Ask me questions. I've had them all the time. I feel like I'm asking you 1,000,000 questions. Ask me 1,000,001.
Yeah.
Because that's how I get to know more. I ask my coach more. I text Simona and say, Simona, I got a question. Can you answer it? Right? Or I text my tax people or my financial people because those are my areas of expertise.
Right.
I'm trying to get one of my favorite tax people on to talk about capital gains because so many people have questions about what's going on with capital gains now, and I have questions about them now, especially if I'm going to go into investment properties, right? So can I get them on? Can I answer 10 questions about what's going on with that now? How can we make it easier for the people that have so many questions about that? So
We're
that's
experts in everything. We're experts in our own thing. But as long as our clients understand, we have people that are surrounded by us that are experts in different avenues.
Yeah.
And we have access to them. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that sets us apart. Our community. Because of networking, we have this community where we can call a friend and say, hey, I have a client that has a question. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. That's why when I started this, my goal was to create a network of people that I trust. So I didn't need 40 real estate agents. I didn't want 40 real estate agents. I wanted 10, 12 that I trusted, that I knew would give me good leads, solid leads, people that I would work with, right? I didn't want 10 lawyers. I wanted 2.
Yep.
Right. 2 that I knew would answer my questions when I wanted them. 2 that I knew would be good with the people I sent them. Right. Yep. Didn't want 15 financial planners. I wanted 2. Right. 2 that I trust.
Yep.
And I found that, and I've created a circle of trust of people that I know. When I send a client to them and say, "Can you talk to so and so?" They have. They're looking at buying their first house. They're not quite there yet. They have some money put away. Can you help them figure out how to put the next 10,000 away in the next 6 months, right? Get them on that track, right? Or, Simona, I got a first-time home buyer. They don't have a lawyer. They're fantastic people. I know you'll treat them right, right?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of people. Those are the people I have in my life now. And God, it's so much better than construction. Right? Just that alone, getting me out of that toxicity of construction has made my life so much better.
Yeah, we're a little different than the trades.
We are. I miss working with my hands, but I love working with my brain.
There you
And I get to meet fantastic people like you.
And now you've perfected both, so you can just go on.
Simona, I really, really appreciate this. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I look forward to your barbecue.